My name is Dahlia M. Iverson, and I was 34 years old when the man I had loved for 5 years looked me in the face and called our life together routine. "We're better as friends," Nolan said, so calmly it almost sounded rehearsed. "Honestly," he assured me, like the word honestly could soften betrayal. So I agreed. Then he discovered friendship did not include me covering his half of the vacation, especially not when I took someone else instead. I had been reading stories like this for years, always thinking I would never be the woman who missed every red flag because love made her generous. Then I became exactly that woman. I worked as a marketing consultant for a mid-sized firm, steady work, good pay, long hours, the kind of career people call reliable when they want to make it sound dull. Nolan and I met in college. He was a graphic design major with restless hands, beautiful sketches, and big speeches about freelancing, building a brand, and never becoming trapped in an ordinary life.
I was smitten from the first week. After graduation, we moved into a small downtown apartment. Nothing fancy, but I made it home. From the start, I was the stable one. Nolan's freelance gigs came and went. Some months he landed a big client and strutted around like the industry had finally noticed him. Other months he scraped by with side jobs, small design tasks, or excuses about creative burnout. I picked up the slack because I believed in him. I covered rent when he was short, handled utilities, helped pay for his design software, built his portfolio website, and worked overtime so he could attend networking events. "We're a team," I used to tell him. "Your success is our success." Looking back, that sentence was where I taught him how to take from me without feeling the weight of it. 2 years in, he lost a major client. I came home from a 12-hour day and found him crying on the couch, invoices spread around him like evidence from a crime scene. I hugged him, told him we would figure it out, then transferred money from my emergency fund to cover his half of rent. He promised it was temporary. Things did improve for him eventually, but the pattern stayed. I gave, he received. I called it partnership because the truth would have hurt too much. We talked about the future often. Marriage, maybe children, maybe buying a small house somewhere with enough light for his studio and enough quiet for me to breathe. Last year, he started saying he needed a break from the grind. "Let's plan something epic," he said. So I surprised him with tickets for a 2-week beach vacation abroad. White sand, blue water, little bungalow, the kind of trip we had fantasized about since college. I put down the non-refundable deposit myself, about $2,000 from savings, figuring he would chip in his half after his next payment came through. He was thrilled, at least online. He posted screenshots with heart emojis and captions like, "Can't wait to make memories with my favorite person." But around that time, things started shifting. He came home late from work drinks. His phone buzzed more. He smiled at messages he would not show me. Then came the little digs. He reposted things about outgrowing routines and needing adventure. At dinner, he kept mentioning Maya, a coworker who played music on the side and apparently lived like a lit match. "She's so spontaneous," he would say, always dragging people into something wild. I felt the sting, but I trusted him. Or maybe I trusted the version of him I had been funding. The bomb dropped on a Tuesday night. I got home early, picked up his favorite Thai takeout, set the table, and lit a candle because I still believed effort could pull someone back. Nolan came in around 8, distracted, phone in hand. He barely glanced at the food. "Dahlia, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. He paced for a minute, then crossed his arms. "I love you, but I think we're better as friends. Honestly." "Friends?" I repeated. "You're amazing," he said, using that pitying tone people use when they are about to ruin you politely. "Reliable, sweet, stable. But I feel like we've grown apart. I need excitement, someone who pushes me out of my comfort zone." "Is there someone else?" He hesitated, then nodded. Maya, it's not serious yet, but she gets me. With you, it's work, home, repeat. I need more than that. I stared at the takeout growing cold between us. So you've been cheating? He rolled his eyes. It's not cheating if we've basically been roommates. I've been hinting for months. Hinting, instead of speaking, betraying me and calling it communication. Then he added casually, but we can stay friends, right? And the vacation, we could still go as friends. You already paid the deposit. I'll pay you back eventually. There it was. The breakup, the confession, and the invoice, all in one breath. I took a slow breath. If that's how you feel, okay. He blinked. That's it? What do you want me to say, Nolan? You made your choice. As I packed an overnight bag, he called after me. Don't make this weird with our friends. Tell them it was mutual. I did not answer. I walked out quietly because I finally understood something. He did not want me as a partner. He wanted me as a safety net with no expiration date. That first night at Mara's apartment was the kind of quiet that makes every thought louder. She gave me her couch, a blanket, and a beer without asking too many questions. That was why I loved her. Mara knew when a person needed space more than advice. I lay there staring at the ceiling fan, replaying Nolan's words until they stopped sounding like sentences and started sounding like receipts. Better as friends. No spark. Maya gets me. We can still go on the vacation as friends. 5 years of love, rent, sacrifices, late-night reassurance, and emergency transfers had somehow ended with him asking if I could still cover his beach resort view. The unfairness came in waves. I remembered the time Nolan wanted to quit his side job to focus on freelancing full-time, and I told him I believed in him before transferring grocery money out of my emergency fund. I remembered helping him build his portfolio website while he slept beside me on the couch. I remembered turning down a promotion that required travel because he said long distance would kill our momentum. Now he called me routine, like stability was a cage instead of the floor he had been standing on. Mara said it best over coffee the next morning. He didn't want adventure. He wanted funding with fewer questions. I laughed because if I did not, I might have cried. Then I started untangling my life. I emailed the landlord about breaking the lease early, citing personal reasons. I transferred utilities out of my name. I withdrew my half from the joint account and closed it before Nolan could suddenly remember we were friends. I changed passwords, redirected mail, and packed the rest of my things during a window when he was supposedly at an inspiration session with Maya. I did not leave a note. I had already given him more explanation than he deserved. Then there was the vacation. The deposit was non-refundable, but the final balance was not due for 2 more months. Nolan had never paid his half, always saying the next client payment was coming, the next invoice was clearing, the next month would be better. I did not remind him. I did not ask. Friends do not expect handouts. His word, not mine. For the next few weeks, I lived like someone recovering from a long fever. I ran in the mornings until my lungs burned. I journaled at night, writing down every red flag I had folded into excuses. His late nights, his secretive smiles at his phone, the way he called me logical whenever he wanted to make honesty sound unromantic. I picked up photography again, something I had abandoned because Nolan said my weekends were too scheduled. On a solo hike one Saturday, standing above a valley with cold wind cutting through my jacket, I realized I was not broken. I was lighter. Work noticed before I did. I threw myself into a campaign strategy project, and my boss pulled me aside after a meeting. "Dahlia, you're on fire lately." It felt strange to be praised for effort without someone at home resenting the energy it took. I started sleeping better, eating better, laughing without checking whether someone else needed me to shrink the sound. About a month after the breakup, Karma started speaking through mutual friends. Maya, the spontaneous coworker with the musician's soul and electric life, had apparently ghosted Nolan after a few intense weeks. He had quit one of his steadier freelance contracts to chase some last-minute road trip with her, only for her to disappear into another man's apartment and a different band's backstage pass. His clients dried up after he started posting vague, dramatic captions about fake people, loyalty, and creative rebirth. Friends pulled away. Nobody likes watching a man set his own house on fire and then complain about the smoke. His first text came 5 weeks after I left. "Hey, Dahlia, how have you been? I miss talking. We should grab coffee as friends sometime. Also, about the vacation, deposit's down, right? I can Venmo my half soon. Let's not waste it." I stared at the message while standing outside the gym, sweat cooling on my neck. No apology, no real accountability, just a soft knock on the old door where my wallet used to answer. I replied, "No need. Handle your own." His response came immediately. "Come on, don't be like that. Friends help each other out. I can't afford to lose this right now." I blocked the number. 2 days later, his mother called and left a voicemail saying Nolan was hurting, that I should be the bigger person, that love did not disappear overnight. Then his best friend Tina texted, saying Maya was a mistake and Nolan needed a break, especially the vacation. I deleted both messages. For the first time in 5 years, I let his crisis belong to him. Nolan did not disappear after I blocked him. Men like him rarely vanish cleanly. They test every unlocked door first. His mother was the next one to knock. Karen left a voicemail in that syrupy voice people use when they want manipulation to sound like concern. "Dahlia, honey, Nolan told me what happened. You two were so good together. Why throw away 5 years over one mistake? He is going through a hard time. Be the bigger person and talk to him. Family sticks together, even as friends." Even as friends. There it was again, that word being dragged behind them like a suitcase they expected me to carry. Then came Trevor, Nolan's best friend, the one who had always laughed a little too loudly at Nolan's jokes about me being too structured. His text said, "You're being cold. Nolan didn't mean to cheat. It just happened. At least hear him out about the trip. He needs a break." I stared at that sentence for a long time. It just happened. Like betrayal was weather. Like Maya had blown through his phone and landed in his bed without him making a single choice. I replied, "Not my problem," then blocked him too. The silence after that felt earned, but it did not last. Nolan found a new number and called while I was at work. I let it go to voicemail. Later, curiosity got the better of me, so I listened in the parking garage. "Dahlia, it's me." "Okay, fine, you win. I was wrong. Maya was a mistake. She used me and bailed. I'm sorry for how I ended things. Can we talk? I miss you. I miss us. And the vacation. I really need it right now. Things are rough. Freelance isn't paying and I'm behind on rent. As friends, maybe you could spot me. I'll pay you back. Promise." His voice cracked, but the apology had a leash attached to it. Money, rent, vacation, need. Not once did he say, "I betrayed you." Not once did he say, "You deserved better." He missed the woman who absorbed his consequences. I did not call back. 2 days later, he showed up at my office. I was stepping out for lunch when I saw him in the lobby, hair messy, eyes red, jacket wrinkled like he had slept in it. He looked nothing like the man who had stood in our living room and told me Maya made him feel alive. He rushed toward me. Dahlia, please don't walk away. I need to talk. I stopped because we were in public, and because part of me wanted to hear how low the truth would finally go. What is it, Nolan? I'm sorry, he said quickly. For everything. The cheating, the way I said it, all of it. I was stupid. Maya seemed exciting, but she was toxic. She yelled at me, ghosted me, borrowed money, then disappeared. I'm alone now. Clients are gone, friends are tired of the drama. But you were always there. I crossed my arms. That was the problem. He swallowed. Can we try again? Or at least be real friends? Help me out. The vacation could fix things. We could go together and reset. No. The word made his face twitch. Seriously? After 5 years? After 5 years, you called me routine and tried to turn my vacation into your consolation prize. His eyes hardened, and there he was, the real Nolan, crawling out from under the apology. You know what? I put up with your boring routine for years. You owe me for sticking around that long. At least cover my half of the trip. It's the least you can do as a friend. I almost smiled, because he had finally handed me clarity with both hands. Friends do not cheat and demand money. Mark. He caught himself, flustered, then snapped. You're petty. Maya was right. You're safe because you're spineless. I turned toward the elevator. Goodbye, Nolan. He shouted after me that I would regret this, that he was the best thing that ever happened to me. Security escorted him out before he finished proving my point. By the end of the day, mutual friends had heard enough. One texted, I'm sorry we didn't see it sooner. Another said, he's unraveling. I did not celebrate. I just felt clean. When the vacation balance came due 2 months later, I paid it in full for 2 people, just not for Nolan. By then, I had been seeing Landon more seriously. He was a teacher, grounded, patient, the kind of man who laughed at my dry jokes and never treated my stability like a defect. When I mentioned the trip, he did not assume anything. He simply said, That sounds beautiful. You deserve to enjoy it. So I invited him. For once, the dream trip belonged to the woman who paid for it. The morning of the flight felt unreal in the quietest way. No panic, no last-minute fight, no Nolan pacing around the apartment complaining that the cab was late while I checked the passports, tickets, sunscreen, and every practical thing he used to call boring until it benefited him. Landon showed up early with coffee, a calm smile, and a suitcase that actually closed without anyone sitting on it. Ready? He asked. I looked at the ticket in my hand, the same destination Nolan and I had once imagined when we were still pretending the future belonged to both of us. Yeah, I said. I really am. At the airport, everything moved with strange ease. We checked our bags, laughed about the security line, and stood near the counter while Landon teased me for organizing our travel documents in a folder. You mock it now, I told him, but when customs asks for something, you'll call me brilliant. He grinned and squeezed my hand. I already do. It was such a simple answer that it hit me harder than it should have. No sarcasm, no subtle dig, no making my steadiness feel like a flaw. Just appreciation. Then I saw Nolan. He was across the terminal near a coffee stand, alone with a carry-on, looking like someone who had dressed in a hurry and slept badly for weeks. His jacket was wrinkled, his hair was messy. His eyes scanned the crowd until they locked on mine. For a second, I watched the realization land. I had not canceled the trip. I had not left the dream behind. I had simply removed him from it. He came toward us fast. Dahlia, wait! Landon's hand tightened around mine, not possessively, just enough to remind me I was not standing there alone. A few familiar faces from our old circle were nearby, grabbing coffee before their own flight. Perfect witnesses, though I no longer needed them. Nolan stopped in front of us and looked at Landon like he was still trying to calculate how quickly a person could become irrelevant. Can we talk alone? No, I said. There's no need. His face crumpled, almost on command. Please, I messed up. I know I did. Maya left me in debt. She borrowed money, used me, then disappeared. My friends barely answer anymore. My mom is tired of helping. I had to sell my camera gear just to cover rent. His voice shook, and maybe some of it was real. Seeing you here, with him, I realized what I lost. You were stable. You were kind. I was blind. I waited because silence had become one of my favorite tools. He stepped closer. Let's start over. I'll change. I'll prove it. And if not that, then at least let me come on the trip as a friend. I can sleep on the couch or pay you back later. I just need to get away, Dahlia. I need this. There it was again. Need dressed as remorse. Friendship used as a receipt. His apology still had a price tag tucked underneath it. This trip is for me and Landon now, I said. Nolan's eyes flashed. You can't just replace me. I almost laughed, but I did not. I had waited too long for this moment to waste it on cruelty. You replaced me first, remember? You said I was routine. You said Maya made you feel alive. You said we were better as friends, and then expected friendship to include my wallet. I was wrong, he said quickly. Please, Dahlia, don't leave me like this. I'm not leaving you, I said. I left months ago. You're only noticing now because the benefits finally stopped. His hand shot out and grabbed my arm. You owe me a second chance. Landon stepped forward, calm but firm. Let go of her. Nolan looked around and realized people were watching. Slowly, he released me. One of our old acquaintances lowered her coffee and mouthed, Good for you. I did not smile. I simply adjusted the strap of my bag and looked at Nolan one last time. Your choices led you here, I said. Mine lead forward. Landon touched my back gently. Let's go. As we walked toward the gate, Nolan shouted that I would be miserable without him, that Landon was just a rebound, that I would regret becoming cold. His words bounced off the polished airport floor and landed nowhere near me. I boarded the plane hand in hand with a man who valued the exact things Nolan had mocked: my steadiness, my planning, my loyalty, my peace. When the plane lifted above the clouds, I looked out at the morning sun and finally understood that the vacation had never been the revenge. The revenge was not begging. It was not explaining. It was not proving I was enough to someone committed to wanting less from me and more from my bank account. The revenge was living well, beside someone who did not need to lose me to recognize my worth.